PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects. Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast, our weekly Star Wars podcast, as we delve into all things news, views, and of course, this week's big topic, the episode from last night, the Acolyte Season 1, Episode 6. I am PLD. You should hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All that stuff I'm supposed to tell you to help us fight the algorithm. But I'm here, of course, with my good friend, my compatriot, I don't know what I should call you today. I'm kind of run out of things to say. I don't know.
Did you just say co-host?
My hottest shit co-host, like Matt, the Matty Jacinto of this show. Matty Gunner.
Matty Jacinto?
Did I say Matty Jacinto? That's exactly what I meant. Matty Jacinto of this show.
I don't think I've got the skin tone or the skin complexion to pull off being Filipino-American, but
Probably not.
Can we just keep that thumbnail as like the thumbnail for every episode of every show going forward?
Oh,
dude, look at
that.
Look at him, dude. That is what peak male performance looks like.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny how, like, he went from we all saw it coming, and I think everybody knew that it was coming, and I think even Leslie Headland has said now that she didn't expect it to be some kind of big surprise. Like, she expected everybody to have figured it out by now. But man, that reveal last week,
I've started doing two-a-days again, just because of him. Like, I got to a point where I was working out like once a day, and I'm like, no, I need to get back to my peak. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't have him walking around
showing you up.
I can't have it.
Fair enough. What an episode this week it was, for sure. I'm gonna put it right out there. This is probably my second favorite episode of the run so far. And what a great respite. We had such a big action episode last week, and this week was very little action physically, but a lot of mental gymnastics going on, and a lot of that great Star Wars lore, a lot of that great Star Wars philosophical discussion, and it was a great name for an episode, Teach/Corrupt. We have one side and going the other. It's like we kind of thought it might happen, and as it turns out, I feel like my prediction was right. We're getting the big flashback episode next week. That's what it feels like it's going into. One more big flashback episode before the finale. We are kind of cruising towards the finale now.
We both got a prediction, huh? We both were pretty spot on with a prediction this week.
Yeah, not too shabby at all. We're working overtime here, so definitely stay tuned to the end. Maybe we'll be right again. We'll talk some more predictions in our Force Visions. We are going to get into the Acolyte episode first. This is a new recent change in our format. If you've been here for a long time, but maybe missed a couple episodes, we usually start with the news, then went to the big topic. We just usually are just chomping at the bit to get to that the big topic first. So we're going to.
I feel like I should explain why.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
PLD is a natural broadcaster. You have been a fan of YouTube shows for a long time. You've been around many a broadcaster. You work with many of these people.
Yes.
I am just a fan with a big mouth. So sometimes when we get like into the minutiae of the news, like right on, I kind of like feel like I have to work my way up.
Gotcha.
Whereas if we get right into the episode, then I'm warm and I'm ready to go.
Boom, fired up. I get it. Hey, whatever works for you works for me. We actually tried it out a couple weeks ago, and I actually dug it quite a bit. Surprisingly, I was literally resistant to when it actually came into practice. It actually worked out very well for us, I think. So, without further ado, let us get into this week's episode of The Acolyte. And as we do things here, we break them down to segments first before we kind of go through the rest of the show, just to get our favorite moments up top. First one, of course, our first segment, as always, Hondo Watch 2024.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me!
Did Hondo Ohnaka make his grand return to the Star Wars screen in last night's episode of The Acolyte? And, well, we've already kind of understood that this is going to happen this time, but just for the bit.
This effort is no longer profitable!
We are nothing if not committed to the bit.
We are committed to the bit. No Hondo, no John Doe, no Jane Doe, no Grandpappy or Grandmammy, no Mother, no Hondo Naka, unfortunately. I think we know that it's not going to happen now, and I don't think we ever really had much hope for this particular series given its time frame. Skeleton Eyes, I'm looking at you, though. Or Skeleton Crew, I'm looking at you.
Skeleton Eyes. I was going to say Skeleton Eyes. What
Skeleton Crew, I'm looking at you.
What is Skeleton Eyes?
That's a good question. That's like I'm making up shows now. I'm going different places with them. So maybe I am Lucasfilm. We're gonna change the name of it quickly enough. So
you're Dan Mo if you ran Lucasfilm.
There you go.
I love Dan Mo, but that video annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, we all have our moments. We all have our moments for sure. I love Dan Merle too. I actually only got to watch a little bit of it as he had to go, but we all have our opinions for sure. All right, let's move on to our actual first segment then for the Acolyte. That's almost like a precursor. This is a quick one. It's an easy one. Our Acolyte of the week.
But an Acolyte kills the dream.
This is easy. This is our favorite character of the week. And to me, I got a feeling this is going to be the rest of the way through at this point, but it's my 1A and 1B at all times. And my 1A, still Smiler Ren. It's
we gotta call him by his name, bro,
or the Stranger, or whatever you want to call him. Manny just said so. The hot Sith.
Did you see that body?
Yeah, I did. I'm a heterosexual I'm a straight male, and man, I understand.
Did you hear what Alex Damon said on
their
live stream last week? He said he's bisexual.
That's a good point. That's a good point there. I like that.
I was dying. That is, bro, just like looking at his physique.
Right.
That enough alone, the dedication that has gone into him crafting that physique and that jawline that could cut marble is enough for me to give him Acolyte of the week, Acolyte of the show.
Yeah.
Add to it his saber fighting skills. Mm-hmm. And please continue. I'm just letting you know that mine's the same fucking one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, I mean, the beginning of the show, it was Soul all the way through because he was just the best presence, everything else, great acting experience. And it's not like he's diminished at all. He's my 1B for sure. They both are definitely keys to the show for me is at this point. I almost would like to give it to Soul for like moments we'll talk about. I'll talk about it now. Like his emotional breakdown of the ship without saying a word was just a phenomenal performance. And Lee Jung-jae is really, he's hitting it out of the ballpark here. However, I mean, the seductive powers. I'm not even talking physical appearance at this point with Manny, with the Stranger, with Quimir, whoever he is this week. Just his like the snake-like way he's talking to Osha, making it seem like he is saying rightful things to her. Like it's usually I'm not going to be seduced to the dark side. You can tell me anything you want. I'm a light sider all the way. And yet you hear him, he's like making sense.
Oh, he got that
like a snake oil salesman kind of thing. It's like, oh, and she's like disarming her without even like barely saying a word, letting her have the weapon, like letting her do anything. Like you can go whenever you want. Do you really want to? And it's like, damn, this is like some hard.
You can go whenever you want, but you got to make it the dangerous swim over to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So take pick.
Am I your prisoner? You have the weapon. It's like, jeez.
The wearing the white robe as well to make him like come off as disarming.
Yep.
It's like the black hat, white hat of like old school westerns, right?
You're right.
The bad guy usually wears black, but then you watch a movie like 310 to Yuma, and the bad guy might be wearing black, but if you look at it from a different perspective,
right,
he's the good guy. In that movie, you could argue that he's the good guy.
Well, we are all the good guy in our own story, as the saying goes, and he feels like he is the good guy in his own story. He just wants to live. He just wants to be able to do what he wants to do and not be destroyed by the Jedi for his beliefs, so to speak, even if his beliefs are, as we know, selfish and evil and everything else going on.
We don't know what his beliefs actually are yet, though. I saw shout out to Diaz. I saw his tweet about like what Khmer may want to do. I'm not so sure.
Okay. I mean, you can say that if you want. I will stand forth and say he just murdered 9 Jedi. I think he's on the bad
Out of
guy side.
self-defense.
Oh, come on now. Come on now. He could have gotten away.
Self-defense.
He could have gotten away anytime. He provoked them. He started the attack. He didn't have to show up there.
They ran at him.
He didn't have to be there.
No, but he was just standing there. He didn't attack them first.
Well, he did ignite his lightsaber first.
Because he felt threatened.
You're being seduced. Just
if we're in an alleyway, right? We're standing at the end of an alleyway, and 5 to 7 guys appear at the end of an alleyway, and they seem threatening enough. I'm pulling my keys out of my pocket and putting them between my fingers.
Yeah, but you're not the dark guy, the cape, and the scary teeth mask. You're going in front of the.
Have you seen how I dress?
In front of the person, in front of the innocent person, and igniting your lightsaber right in front of her.
Have you
like
seen
to the
how
point
I
where we're
dress?
like, oh my god, did she just get stabbed?
I'm saying.
You know better. You know better, Matty. You want to love him, and I get it. And
No,
you want to.
I don't know better. I don't know better. If I see 5 to 7 people walking at me down the end of an alleyway or down a street, I'm pulling my keys out of my pocket and putting them between my fists.
Well, as Obi-Wan would say, then you are lost.
I am lost. I've been lost for a long time.
You have been seduced to the dark side, and I understand it. I understand it. I mean, hey, I get it. But there's definitely no way in hell he is anything but the bad guy here.
So who's your 1B?
1B is definitely Soul. Soul is by far 1B. Like I mean, his performance is phenomenal. His performance is phenomenal in this one. I think his breakdown, his emotional side of things. He doesn't have to speak. He learned the language in 4 months to be able to do the show, and he shows right here that he doesn't even need to have language to be able to give a performance that's worth discussion. That moment, like I said, there he starts breaking down to May. He goes to the central thing where he's alone. He just has this like going through his mind what just went down, what went down back in Brendock. Remember that. Everything going through his mind is crazy at this point. But you have a different 1B, it sounds like you said you have a different opinion.
Yeah, I just want to comment on yours really quick because you do raise a good point. And I was talking to a friend of the channel, your seasonal co-host, Kiwi Jess, the great and powerful Kiwi Jess. We were talking about it this morning, and I was saying to her how some of the best actors like don't come from the Hollywood system. Like they don't even need dialogue. Like a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's clunky dialogue." Lee Jung-jae like didn't really know great enough English, but he didn't need it in this scene because the weight that was bearing on him for him to just have that moment alone is just like, I don't think I can do this.
Powerful. It's powerful, man.
But dude, you cannot tell me that Basil doesn't get a mention this week.
I'll give you Basil getting mentioned for sure.
Basil was there like, kind of reminded me of Johnny Bravo.
That's a good point. I like that, Johnny Basil right there. That's a good. He was really on fire with everything he knew was going on. He might have been. It's a question I have actually. I think we'll get into it in the mission briefing. But a question I have is, when did Soul know? Did Basil tell him? I think he figured it out during conversation. But then when he showed up when Soul does. Stun May. Basil's right there, almost like Basil just told him. But I don't know if Lee Jung-jae. I don't know if Soul knows Basil's language. It seemed like Yorda's the only one who knew Basil's language potentially.
I ain't so sure.
I'm not so sure either. I don't know exactly when. But I do think that he discovered it during. I think he didn't know. That was a big discussion last week. Does Soul know? I don't think he knew at the end of last episode because I think his mind was clouded. I think he was distraught. His mind, his emotions were flowing everywhere else. I think once he got to the ship and started talking to her, that's when he figured it out. That's my own thoughts on it.
Because notice how he said, and we'll talk about this more, but like notice how he said your sister.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say May.
Yeah.
He said your sister.
Oh, that's true.
I think he may have felt something.
Right. Maybe he was just kind of probing it. Like he wasn't sure.
Because and as well, like I'll talk. This is going to be my last point of this because we are going to talk about it. When the power went off, and he looked at her, he kind of gave her a look of like, "Where are you going to go? You're going to go with that, or
right.
Or what?"
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting moment for sure. All right, yeah, we're gonna get into all that as we go on. We just talked about 3 characters in the week, but Let's move on to our next segment. The next segment, I Spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Favorite line of dialogue in this week. Some people have some issues with the dialogue of the show. It is a little clunky at times. I'm not going to lie. It's, I think, not the greatest dialogue here and there.
Welcome to Star Wars. Clunky dialogue.
We have some great lines. There's some. I almost went a lot. There's a lot of innuendo lines for Manny just into this week for sure. The seduction thing went both ways. It was definitely trying to use the audience too, holding the lightsaber in his hand. There's a lot of innuendo there. I'm not gonna lie, but I did go with a mere stranger line. I liked it when they had this discussion and she was trying to fight back. Where like, you killed the Jedi, you killed whatever, and he just says, "Or you killed my friends." That's what he said. You killed my friends. He just retorted, "I killed Jedi. I killed those who threatened my existence." It was a great moment of like, yeah. I mean, it goes back to the argument you just made, really, in a way. Like, it's like, these guys threaten my existence. I'm just trying to fight to survive. I didn't kill them for the hell of it. I killed them because they threatened my existence. I need to be free. And it's like, you're buying into it more than I am, because I'm saying it's still an evil thing, but I like how he says it, and it is very seductive and like does make you stop and think about it. But it was delivered perfectly by Jacinto for sure, as was pretty much every line of dialogue he had. I don't think any of his deliveries were wrong. Every one of his deliveries made it feel like it was a great script. That's just something, considering the dialogue is clunky at times. What do you have as your favorite line of dialogue?
It was in the same scene, and it was when he said, "You strike me down in the heat of battle, that's okay. But if you do it now, it's vengeance."
Again, a stop and think moment. It's
just like that little probe of like, so it's okay for you to kill me in battle, but it's not okay for you to kill me here when I'm unarmed and naked and I pose no threat to you. But in battle, you can kill me. You can end my life. But now it's not honorable.
An hour later. Yeah. Right.
An hour later, it's not honorable for you to kill me. And it's those little things, and just the way he like he still has those like mixed personalities, because he'll be talking like this, and then he'll just with the sweep of the hair and like look through it and be like, semantics.
Yeah.
He's playing with her the whole time. You don't, and it goes back to him saying, you shouldn't trust me, but you should trust yourself.
Right.
I think there are some real moments in some of the things that he is saying. It's just really hard to determine which ones are which.
He dances through his dialogue for sure. The best part about it, he almost never, or at least rarely, tells her anything. It's more like he'll give answers. He'll answer, but it's always usually with a question in terms of, well, what do you feel about this?
It's like he's trying to... He doesn't want to answer. He's like feeding her a trail to get to the answer that she wants.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll lead you to what you want to believe.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you what to think.
Right.
Which is in its own way kind of manipulative and gaslighting.
Absolutely. He's trying to showcase that he is unlike the Jedi, who are very much more dogmatic, and the Jedi always tell them what they're supposed to do. The Jedi are the ones that are instructing them. He's instructing them in a different way, which lends it to believe that she's coming to terms with things at her own pace, and he's okay with that. But he's like, he wants you to poke at those questions, give you those questions. That's how he teaches. Well, why are you doing this? Why do you believe this? They're doing this, so why do you do this? Almost more like curiosity out of his own things. Like, I'm curious about this. You have this opportunity. Why aren't you taking it? Why do you feel that way?
And he even like continues to prod when she says, "Did you kill Saul?" No. Did you kill May? No. But interesting that you brought him up first.
Right. Always has an answer to swerve it around the way he wants.
He can't just say no. He was like, no. But interesting that you said his name first.
Right.
He's a sly fox.
He is. He's a dance. He's a dancer. That's what he is. He's a dancer about all things physical.
Dare I say, the most intriguing Star Wars villain
in a long time.
I think ever. because there's so like we knew who Palpatine was, right? We knew he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. The mystery was kind of blown wide open.
Right.
We found out Vader was Anakin's father. Spoiler alert for a movie that came out fucking eons ago. That if you haven't seen that movie and you're watching
this show for,
Maul was kind of interesting later on when he got more development, but right from the off with Kamir, we're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right. Yeah, an argument could absolutely be made for sure. I think the Anakin fall is a keystone to the Star Wars universe. It's hard to say that's a lot there, but I get that. Dooku is always an interesting one for me because of his fall in a way, some of his interesting angles. Kylo Ren, to a degree, is an interesting thing because of the subversion of the tropes, where he is like he's the little boy who is raging out at this point, trying to be this character. He's not trying to be Darth Vader, which is no one can do and he can't do. There's a lot of different interesting facets for sure. Baylan Skull, very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I would put Kamir and Baylan 1 and 2. Yeah, Baylan is.
Yeah, I mean,
because like the others, we know their objectives, right? And it's probably because the story hasn't been completely told yet. But I feel like with the others, we got their objectives like from the off. With Baylan and Kamir, we're still kind of like, what's your game here?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I would definitely agree. He is definitely a very intriguing villain, and I can't wait to find out where he's going for sure. He's my favorite, easily my favorite part of the show so far. And it's interesting to see where that's going to go necessarily. I mean, Soul is still extremely interesting to me as well. So I definitely, those, like I said, 1A, 1B, those are my two linchpins of the show. I care about him. I care about them more than I care, honestly, about Osha and May's story at this point, which is fine.
I agree.
It's just, I feel like Amanda Stenberg's a great performer. She's not really winning me over in these roles. It's kind of a lot of face acting and not that it's bad performances per se, but she's definitely being overshown by these two.
I think I know why. I truly believe that Osha and May are just the vehicle for us to see this story through.
Main character syndrome in a way. I get that.
Yeah,
it's like Luke in the first film in a way. To be honest with you.
Yeah, like Anakin's fall and the fall of the Empire is the bigger story. We're just being told by this farm boy.
Right. Yeah.
These two twins, I don't think that what happened to them isn't the mystery. Like we know they're twins. That mystery's gone. We know who Kamir is. That mystery's gone.
Yeah.
The bigger story is the fall of the Jedi and the Sith infiltrating the Jedi.
Yeah.
We're just seeing it through the eyes of these two twins.
And that could change. The next couple episodes, she could really have some moments that really kick her in there. I mean, for sure. Though I think she only has one moment left, or one episode left, because I think next week we're going back to the little kids, I think. But we'll find that out next week for sure. Let's move on to our next segment. We got this call this one, Put That in Your Holocron and Snoke It.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Where we explore more lore, we look at something from the episode and go, I want to know more about that. And whether it's going to be something specifically we know we're getting, or whether it's something we want to get a comic book out of, or a book about, or something else. Matty, what about you? What did you want to explore more this time?
I tweeted this out this morning after I watched the episode. Unknown planet right now will be known as Aktu. And I'm not that for the audio listeners, I didn't just sneeze. That is either Akto or a completely different planet, because those tiny little critters kind of look like the thing that Luke was milking in The Last Jedi.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that aspect. That's true. I mean, definitely they reminded you of porgs in a way, like the way they were, not in look, but as far as their functionality. They came up, they chittered like them, and they ran away. I get that. It's interesting you bring it up. I don't know if you know or not. I don't know. Do you know about the Baldemnik planet? The planet Baldemnik?
Yeah. Isn't that it was like an oceany planet? Yeah. That's from Legends, right?
It's from Legends. It's from the Darth Plagueis book.
Yeah.
It is a ocean planet adorned with rocky tropical islands. And its extremely harsh climate discouraged most people from ever visiting the planet, despite the beauty of its giant rock cliffs, pristine beaches, and vast azure oceans. Mostly of interest it's mostly of interest to cartographers, xenobiologists, and fisherfolk until knowledge of the planet's rich deposits of cortosis or fell into the hands of Sith Lords Darth Tenebrous and Darth Plagueis.
That's interesting because there's also a part in that Plagueis book where they mention a Sith that nearly blew their cover.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
They mention a Sith that almost cost them everything.
And Leslie Headland loves legends. We know this.
Or she loves lore. Have you been reading her interviews recently where she's been like talking about like Elden Ring and everything? She's a nerd.
Mm-hmm. So I guarantee you she's read Darth Plagueis, the book,
100%.
and I guarantee that she knows this. And so I think this is definitely inspired that. In fact, I think this is Baldemic for sure. They only said unknown planet because they didn't want to like reveal that at this point at the moment. And maybe it is an unknown planet. I also have to turn this around a little bit too. I am starting to think, reading that, watching this, I almost think that Octo 2 was inspired by Baldemec in a way. Like, you know, sometimes these things happen in like in retrospect, they kind of fit places. I almost think like that when Rian Johnson and company were developing The Last Jedi, they went, where is Luke? What is he doing? Or when J.J. Abrams in Force Awakens, I don't know exactly, whatever, it came through it. But the island place, it's almost like they went, we want an island place, a place where Luke went to. It could be a Jedi land or whatever, but it's got this dark side cave in it. It's big dark side moon, just like Dagobah had. So I wondered for like, you know what? Baldemic would be a great place to have Luke go. We don't need to name it Baldemic. We can just name it Octu or whatever. But the idea being that there was a big Sith stronghold there that Luke is on top of now, so to speak. I know the first Jedi temple's there, so it's not the same planet. Obviously, it's not going to be the same planet, but I kind of feel like it was heavily inspired by that to a degree, which makes a lot of sense now after the fact. But I'm dime a dozen. I'm thinking this is definitely.
I'm just between Act 2 and Act Tung, baby.
Not Act 2.
we'll go with Act 2. Act 2, then the number 2.
I do think it is going to be Baldemec. I don't know if we'll ever get that name, but you know, I'd be surprised because it seems like we're getting these reveals. It feels like we're never patient enough. A lot of our fandoms aren't patient enough. Like I remember they had the Cortosis thing last week with the helmet and the thing. We're like, oh, that's kind of cool. We're telling everybody, the people who in Legends know about it are talking about it, et cetera, et cetera. But some people are like, well, they should have mentioned that in the episode. They should have talked about it. Oh, here we are this week. They talk about it. they show it to you. Then they say, oh, this is what it is. It's Cortosis. So, oh, I get it. So I think that kind of, we have to have some patience that some things are going to be explained.
Yeah, I'm noticing this a lot in fandom recently because obviously they've just announced the new Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. And everyone was like, is Kojima going to get mentioned? Are there members of the old crew coming back to work on it? If there's not, fuck Konami, we're not going to be buying this game. So they had the developers on a stage on what they call the production hotline. And they just answered all these questions from the fans. Even people who were saying Metal Gear is dead and you're the ones that killed it. Like they were answering those questions and they were just like, look, sorry, we're sorry you think that. We're going to do our best to make you guys happy. And I was just like, wow, I feel like a real piece of shit for the things that I said.
Right.
Like, and it just makes you think, like, you got to let these creators, like, well, it might be inspired by Baldemec. It might be a different name. It might be Baldemec outright, and we all lose our shit, and everyone, all us lore nerds that we are happy. We throw our caps in the air like we just fucking graduated.
Absolutely. I think that might be the case, but let's let them cook and see what happens. I feel like that's something that's been lacking is patience. And I understand why sometimes. I think the 30-minute episodes don't really help because we want to move forward. We want to get this. We're like, let's do this.
This one annoyed me. I can't hide it. This one, how they ended this one did annoy me.
Yeah, I get it. And we'll talk about that for sure. Let's move on though for now. Oh, I didn't say mine, did I? It was kind of the same thing. But you know what? I will throw one out there. For sure. I also want to know more about the scars. Kamir's scars on his back.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Exactly. Kamir being the Joker there for a moment. I do find it interesting.
Joker.
I do find it very interesting that we introduced those scars, the same episode we introduced to the light whip. And those scars definitely look like whip type scars. Just throwing that out there for conversation, for speculation.
Have you read Temptation of the Force yet?
I have not, unfortunately. But I have heard I don't know, it's not spoiler or two, but I've heard some interesting dialogue about some things that happened potentially. Okay. So yeah, I'm still back in my phase. I'm doing that I'm doing the whole read through of the canon. I'm in like phase 1 now at this point. In the comics.
I know what you're getting at, and I would be so fucking bummed.
I'd be and here's the thing.
Let's save it. Let's save it.
Because
I know where you're going.
Okay. Let's move on then to our next bit of piece of a segment called "Seen a Lot of Action."
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
Well, I'm going to get it right out of the way because it's related. I think seeing the light whip in action was my favorite part for sure.
Oh, that was sick.
I'm hoping that's not the only time we get to see it. That's the one that was from the trailer for sure that I saw. But just the way it happened, it visually looked cool. She's not even looking. She just
no look, no scope,
and then comes back. Oh, it worked so well. It worked beautifully well, and I loved it for it. So please let that work. Please let that come back.
I don't think it's going to be the last time we see it, especially with what you've just said now in my brain. I think it is going to trigger a certain someone.
It might. It just might. All right, what about you? What's your favorite bit of action?
It can't not be the light whip, right?
Right. Okay, that's fair.
It can't not be. It was just like we saw it. Like it was in a. I hate that someone posted it before I saw it. I hate that it wasn't spoiled. Like I knew it was going to be in the show, but I wanted to like have the moment it's revealed. Like I wanted to see that as it happened, but. Unfortunately, because I've taken all my muted words and everything off, I did see it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But it was still fucking cool. I will add another one, so I'm not just copying yours.
Okay.
Just Basil getting ready to square up.
Nice. Yeah, that was definitely some fun good moments.
Like he knew he was probably going to get his ass whipped, but he was like, hell no, we're doing
For sure. All right, next up.
Last batch.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
This is our comic moments of the week, and there weren't many comic moments of the week. I do have one I will throw out there that I had. The line between Vernestra and Mog, when Mog started trying to stop him from going and saying he gets sick in hyperspace, and she kind of gets very serious and goes, I don't get nauseous. I get unsettled. And
it's also because she has the visions when she's in hyperspace.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But that's why. And in the way
I hate
Mog.
You're not Yord, bro. You're not Yord. You're not.
Say, I'll throw it out there for you now. Bob's one of my least favorite. He felt more Jedi accountant than anything else. Like he just does not feel like a Jedi at all. I hate doing that. I hate being that way. And some people on the other side talk like that. But this guy really looked at him and was like, this he's an accountant. He's the guy. He's like he's not a Jedi.
He's the rookie that you pull off the desk that's been doing paperwork for like they've just been on the job for like 2 weeks and they're sitting there like filling out like traffic tickets or something, and they're like, come on, rookie, like it's your first beat. And he has no idea what to do. He's been through the academy, but he has no real life experience.
He's the temp, basically. It's like, oh man, this guy.
He is the temp. He is Ryan. He is Ryan the temp.
That's what he is, basically. I
want Dwight back. I actually want your back over this guy.
I always do too. To where that's not saying much, and that's saying a lot. I mean, actually. All right, what about you? What is your favorite comic moment of the week?
I've had this moment when you're trying to fumble, like looking for the right charge point. And Basil was trying to put Pip in the right one.
Right.
And then he just looked at it. He was like, oh, whenever I come over to America, you guys have the 2 slots, right?
Right.
obviously with my long hair, I have to dry my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Every time the hairdryer plug, I always put it in the wrong way. I put it in upside down as opposed to down like that. I always put it like facing up. And I'm like, oh no, it's got to go downward, which is weird because then it kind of like passes over onto the other plug socket. It's weird. But I do it every time. So I really related to Basil in that point where he was like trying to plug it into the right one. And of course, like being a musician, like the show last week, all manner of technical shit went wrong. So we were like trying to like plug everything in, and we were just like, oh, okay. So Basil, I feel you.
You feel, yeah. That's why you can connect with him more so much. I get that. I totally get that. All right, let's get into the next segment, which I'm going to call the mission briefing, or in this case, the path.
I trained her. Let me be the one to bring her in.
It's kind of a catch-up as we talk about everything else maybe we haven't gotten to before Force Visions, of course. We're going to deal with that afterwards. I think we have lots to talk about there. But let's go through the rest of it there. So we had some great moments in here. This is where we just catch up with some of our notes here. So I got to tell you one thing. Speaking of the innuendo, Osha definitely had a moment where Manny Jacinto could have said, "My eyes are up here," as he was exiting the water.
She was eye fucking him for sure.
She was eyeing that hog like nothing else at that point when he was walking out of the water. He's like,
I am so pissed we didn't get. Okay, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I get this is like aimed for more of like the teen CW early adult kind of a show, right? I'm all for objectifying attractive men. I'm not asking for full frontal nudity. I do think there should be more full frontal male nudity in films. We have a lot with women. We don't get a lot with dudes. I think what was the movie that Barry Keoghan was in last? Saltburn, right?
Right.
Was the big one that everyone like got all like up in arms about.
Right.
To not even give us a shot of those chiseled cheeks, bro. We lost out. We lost. I almost ducked this episode a whole 2 points for that.
I get that, man. No, it's funny because we're never. It's like this is Star Wars. We're not going to get naked anything in Star Wars. That just doesn't fit. Unfortunately,
just the cheeks.
But
bro.
I did think
show a flash of the cheeks.
I did think for a moment this is not House of the Dragon. Where did you watch this week's episode?
Yeah.
We got
a whole lot of
pain in the mouth. I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected.
We got Eamon's dong.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. We need more male as a straight male. We need more full frontal
I get
male
that.
nudity.
I get that. We should normalize it considering how the women are normalized at that point.
Exactly.
I'm not saying we need to cut down on the women, by the way, either. Just so you know,
No.
But Star Wars.
A flash of the cheeks would have been.
And we know that. We know it's not never going to happen in Star Wars. I will say that almost 90,000%. But yeah, definitely Ocean did have that moment.
What if we did this time? What if this was the time? This was the perfect time to do it.
This would have, if there was going to be a time, and he was definitely one for it. But,
he's packing a saver too.
Why did this turn into porn center? Like, holy porn center, Batman. As it is.
Force Hub.
Force Hub. I love it. All right, let's. I got some other moments there. I mentioned, we mentioned Mog, Vernestra. What do you feel about Vernestra right now at this point? I'm not saying not her future, not necessarily character, but what we've seen so far in the performance.
The fact that, and I love this because that senator's name was what was it? Chuwan, Senator Chuwan.
Yep,
it continues the Beastie Boys tradition of naming senators after phrases from Beastie Boys songs of "What You Want." I don't know if you caught that. Shout out to Charlie Ashby. He tweeted that out, and I saw it, and I was like, "Holy shit!" They kept it going.
I did not realize. I did not recognize that. That's awesome.
The fact that the Senate are performing an audit on the Jedi Order, and Vanessa's just like, "Okay, go ahead." It's like, no, what are we doing here? What?
Right.
They are not the IRS.
Yeah.
They're not the
Yeah.
HMRC for us Brits. Like, they shouldn't. Why are we auditing the Jedi?
Right.
But
I think it's
on the
dumb
flip side of
as
that,
well. But
they are a religious institution and they should be audited and they should be paying their taxes.
talking real world stuff here, Matty. I see where you're going with that, and good for
Hey,
you.
just saying.
I will say, Vernestra, I don't. Her performances, I struggle with her performance a little bit still. There's something about her that doesn't ring completely true. And I don't know if it's because I read the character so much previously, even though I'm not caught up completely. I'm not sure what it is about her that I don't love. It's not awful. It's not like it doesn't completely take me out, but it's not a scene that I don't really look forward to. I am now looking forward to some scenes with her next time, though. I am looking forward to her getting into the actual heart of the story. I think part of it was like that she was at the side, off to the side, just kind of like side plot in a way, and
now we're bringing her in.
And now we're actually seeing what she does when she gets some like chunky material instead of basically the stern, almost disapproval, but kind of that kind of it seems like it's gotten overwrought. But I think we could see some good stuff out of her in the next episode. Maybe even the next 2, because I'm kind of curious if she was around at all during the incident on Brentdock. And
I don't think we're getting all flashbacks next. I think we'll get some. I think it will go like in and out.
Okay.
So I think we will get some more. But you're right. There's something just off.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm struggling to know if it's the performance or if, given what I do know of the character, if it is kind of a natural progression of her character, given what I know.
Right.
It's as Thanos said, it's the curse of knowledge. So I don't want to just solely say the performance is a bit out of whack. That being said, there are certain things like the way she kind of just not threw away, but like all the Jedi that were laying there dead, she was just like, prepare their bodies prepare them for burial. I was just like, take a moment. You're supposed to like revere them becoming one with the Force, right? You're supposed to show them that reverence and that respect of them coming into the Force, and you're just like, nah, get their bodies ready to be buried.
There's a difference between being detached from emotion and being like heartless. The difference, and she seemed almost heartless in a way. And again, I don't know if it's the performance or not. I can't quite tell. But I got to be honest with you. If I have to be honest, it always comes off that she's more. There comes a line, and I think this is why I have trouble with Mog, and I had a little trouble with Yord. It felt like they were modern day people acting in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
A bit compared to like Soul feels like he's just there.
An old soul.
Manny Jacinto feels like he's just a role in the show. He's just playing his part. He feels like he's there. Some of them kind of feel a little like I'm in the show and I'm performing in the show, and it's hard to. I don't know exactly.
I'm inclined to agree with you, because the one thing, and I think what Star Wars is doing to like promote their stuff is quite cool, but like all these videos of the actor playing Yord just like steaming robes and stuff. I get it's good for promotion. I get you're trying to get the TikTok viewers and pull in the younger audience, because TikTok is the largest social media platform in the world, regardless of who owns it and what government are trying to shut it down. They're trying to latch onto that audience and bring them into Star Wars, which is great. That's great. But when I do see what you're saying with that, and I do somewhat agree that there are not actors that are just acting for social media clout or to like be center of the screen because it's good and because it's a good position to cut into a TikTok clip.
Right.
But there is definitely a little air of it, for sure.
Yeah. That's what it is. Like, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't, I don't get as enveloped in the story when they're on screen. Yeah, that makes sense in a way. I kind of like, okay, I see it for what it is.
And it's also like if the two characters that we're watching aren't part of the main plot, well,
Right.
not a part of the main plot, but like they're just consequential to the main story. They're
Right.
just the through line. Then everyone else underneath them is kind of even lesser.
Yeah.
And that I'm not saying that, but like that is how it could easily be perceived by people, and that sucks to say because Jackie is a phenomenal character. Yord, if we'd had more time with Yord, if Yord had more time to prosper and grow, and like the turn, maybe like have him die going to save Osha, as opposed to just like cut. I mean, the kill was cool and everything; it was a sweet kill. Like I'm not gonna take that away, but like if we'd have had more time with him, I think we'd have cared more. That makes sense.
Yeah, like some people, it's funny. I look at social media, and there are like the Yord Horde and the Jackie Jam, all these people who are very distraught about their deaths. And I did like the characters, but I will agree that, and that's partially to do with the short episodes in a way. You didn't get a chance to really get in depth with them. I like Jackie a lot. I would like to see where she would have gone. And her last episode during the fight, I liked her even more. I definitely got more into it. Yord is kind of this there to a degree, but if we had like a full season with them, let's say this was like a 15 or 16 episode season like it used to be kind of thing. It used to be 22, 23. I think that's too much, but I think sometimes we get down a little bit too little. I think 8 can almost be a little too little. We don't have time to breathe, especially when it's 30-minute episodes. I feel like we had a little more time to develop, and this was like, say this was episode, I don't know, 12 out of 14 or 15 or something like that, and we had all those to really grow with her, that would have been just even more meaningful than they were, and more powerful.
I think Yord is going to have his own project one day. It's very similar to how when Steve Carell left The Office, Rainn Wilson and the character of Dwight kind of moved more into the forefront.
Right.
They tried to do it with Andy. It didn't really work out. He was kind of a bumbling, annoying buffoon. But they moved the characters of Jim and Dwight into the center position because Steve Carell, as Michael Scott, had gone.
Right.
I think because of the reaction, because of the Yord Horde, because of how like Yord is a loved character, whether we like him or not.
Yeah.
Whether we think he's a complete tool, which I do think he's a complete tool, but he's our tool.
Yeah.
Unlike this new guy. I think there is a place for Yord, and I really would like for him to have his own project off of this. They're not going to be. This isn't going to be the last of the stories that we get in this era. So I think it would be cool to expand more and go into more like with characters like Jackie and like Yord, like before these events.
Right.
But the way that they like, I don't like saying that I have a problem with the episode length, but I have a problem with the episode length with this one.
Yeah, I get it. I just, it's a fact. It's a fact of the matter. Is like a lot of these episodes have felt like they were 2-part, like episodes, like 4 and 5 should have been together.
They should have done it parts of 3 and then a 2-part finale.
Yeah, I would have been done 1 and 2, then part 3, then part 4 and 5 together. Maybe it feels like there's a way they could have done it better, but then you only have like a 5 or 6 episode run or 4 or 5 episode run. That's like not enough. But then like you have to either flesh out the story and give us some more stakes like somewhere else to a degree to like justify a longer story in a way. Maybe this would have worked better as I say worked better as if I'm not enjoying it. I'm very much enjoying this. Let me make that quite clear. And I almost feel like perhaps I wonder if this would have been a better movie in a way.
Perhaps. I mean, they have had that before with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was supposed to be a movie.
Right. I almost feel like we're kind of caught in this in between where like there was a great story for a movie, maybe not enough for a complete longer series. They kind of have this like in between level and they're trying to stretch some things out. But I feel like you could have streamlined a little bit of this. And the funny thing is, like, if it's a movie, you forgive. Like I just said, if we had a longer time with Jackie and Yord by the end, like by the 12th or 13th episode, we would have felt more. You almost have a forgiveness of that in a 3-hour or 2-hour movie. If you go into a 2-hour movie and these characters, you get to know them a little bit in the first part and they die in the second part, you almost feel like you've been there long enough, even though it's less time. You know what I mean? You kind of have that in your mind that it's enough for them to have been there for the first hour of the film or hour and a, 45 minutes of the film before they die. It's just a different ball game, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do feel like the story itself is great. I just want more depth.
Yeah,
which is strange because this is like it's a mystery
Mm-hmm.
thriller. We are getting a lot of depth, but like some of these characters, like you should have like shown us more of,
Mm-hmm.
or don't include them at all.
Yeah, agreed.
Instead of having Yord and Jackie, we probably could have done without Yord. Yeah, we wouldn't have got the reflection of how the Jedi Order are at this point. But then why are you introducing this guy that is exactly the same that we're not going to give a shit about because he's not Yord?
Right. Yeah, it is funny how he went from we're going to, when we talk about the news a bit, there's some interviews with Leslie that we talked about that I'm going to mention some things. And I understand the quote unquote red shirt angle of what happened in episode 5. We had to come those red shirt Jedis, as they call them. But it feels like that had a purpose. Whereas now Vanessa comes and she's going on this journey, like, and it almost feels like we did a whole slew of red shirts now. It's like, oh, so we're replacing these with people we don't even know or care about at all, and Mog especially at this point. And that's no knock on Mog, I guess, for sure. But like, it's what he's given. But he feels like they're trying to force something in. Like,
what's his name? Mog.
Mog, yeah, it's Mog.
Kind of like there's a politician over here called Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is very much old school conservative, by the book piece of shit. That this guy, that name kind of just because this guy, like, I don't, like, it's so bad, but like I just feel like we had a great version of this type of a character,
right?
And you killed him off halfway through.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why not do it at the end? Give him like a real noble death, the death of a Jedi Knight, of the death that he probably would have wanted.
Yeah,
make us like really, really feel like, yes, we feel like he was taken away from us too soon, but like, how much more would we have felt if he'd have gone out on his sword, like as the Jedi Knight that he wanted to be?
1000%.
Instead of the little bitch way that he went out.
I will argue that, not argue is the right word, but I will put forth the idea that the deaths of Jackie and Yord in episode 5 were meaningful, not because we cared about the characters as much, not because we do, but it was more about like, oh, anybody could die. Like, we had the red shirts coming and then they died, and then also like, oh, Jackie and Yord also died. And having just one of them die might have not been as effective as having both of them. Having both of them die was really like, oh, we're starting over now. So that's why it was a powerful moment. But I do agree. I get what you're saying about Yord maybe living longer for that purpose as well. It'd be an interesting juxtaposition to see which would have worked better, to be honest.
But like, why bring in this dude now? Like, we had a really, really good version of this by the book Jedi character. Like, I don't care for this. I don't care for this dude. I probably will. I may go on to love this dude. I probably won't. But I'm just like, we had, like, why go for a Big Mac when you have steak at home?
Yeah.
Yord was the prime rib.
Which is funny we say that because Yord is I don't know if I ever call Yord a prime rib, so but yeah, I get what you're saying there.
He's what's a like average cut of steak? Sirloin.
It's really I will say, interestingly enough, that like I almost am torn between it. Almost feels like it would have been cooler if Vanessa heard this and went on her own.
Yeah.
Like without any more red shirts. Although I guess maybe we need more cannon fodder. Maybe we have some more deaths coming, and that could absolutely be the case.
Or maybe she goes to Up 2 on her own.
Could be. Maybe that would be better, I think, in a way, because I think bringing all these people might clutter things when we are needing to streamline them and head towards home, so to speak.
Yeah.
Rounding third, so to speak. But all right, so next up I got a couple more things, and I'll let you see if you have any things we haven't talked about. Let's see. I liked Manny's a long time ago moment. Quite a long time ago. How is he? Is he human? I don't know for sure. it's an interesting juxtaposition there. I don't know if he meant that or not, or just meant human terms. Did you think anything of that, or is it because everybody knows? Nobody seems to know who he is. Soul didn't seem to know who he was.
Nah, I think he's just referring to when he was a kid.
Okay, that could be. That could very well be. I'm kind of hoping that's the case, to be honest with
Because
you.
what? He's like some kind of specter that's been haunting Up-2 for hundreds of thousands of years. No, I think he's playing coy. He's just like, well, yeah, that was a long time. That was a real long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
He might be older than we think he is, but like, I think he's just referring to like when he was a kid.
I think that I'm hoping that's the case too, because I think it'd be otherwise it'd be a little strange. I mean, they could explain it off and it could work, but
I was right that he was a Padawan.
Yeah, absolutely were.
I caught it, but
100%.
with a caveat. And I was also talking to Josh about this earlier. Like, I feel like it's such a Sisyphean tale for him to be a Padawan and then fail.
Right.
And then try to be an acolyte and then fail.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the story we're kind of heading for, especially with the moment at the end of Osha putting the helmet on.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to get a taste of what he wants and then slowly realize, especially if he is this Sith, that everything almost went wrong. I think this isn't my Force vision, but I think this dude's in for a tragic ending.
Oh, absolutely. I fully agree there. I definitely think this is a tragic ending for him, for sure.
We're going to be devastated.
Here's one reason I was devastated this week. May resets Pip to factory settings. What the fuck? That's just not right. That's just not right.
Right.
Is there any way Osha can fix that, you think, if she ever gets him back? I don't know.
She's got to have a backup, right?
I'd hope so.
If I can back up my iPhone,
yeah,
sure they can back up. They backed up 3PO. His eyes, 3PO's eyes went red, and they backed him up.
I'm hoping that's the case because, man, I was very mad at May for that.
That should have been my comedy moment, actually. The bit where he like spits the oil at May, and she like grabs her eye and screams.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way I can get that, but I gotta be honest with you, that whole sequence felt a little goofy to me. Like it was Star Wars humor. It's Star Wars humor, but the way it juxtaposed, like you can do Star Wars humor in a way during like a tone scene like that works. This almost felt like it was in a different part of the like. It almost felt like I don't know. Like maybe
like Basil trying to plug Pip in. That was a good Star Wars comedy moment.
Yes.
Whereas the oil to the eye, you were kind of like, come on.
It was kind of like, well, actually, honestly, it was more May and her reaction to it. It felt like the way she reacted, it was like slapstick. Like, and it is a slapstick moment, but like that's not her character right now. She's this like tragically tormented soul who is trying to figure out what's going on. She's in a very serious mode at this point. And like, I mean, she's twins with Osha, but I feel like Osha could get away with doing it that way because of who she is. But May is like this different kind of character. And that's why, if I'm going to throw it out there, I'm going to be completely honest. May is probably the most uninteresting of the characters we have right now. I feel like, I mean, like, outside of maybe Vernestra, because Vernestra already has at least something established at the books and stuff. I feel like I don't get a lot out of her. Like, I don't know. I mean, that could change, but I just don't feel like I care much about May at this point.
Because I feel like Amanda is putting more into the character of May than she is Osha.
Oh, that's an interesting take, because I completely disagree. I think it's the other way around.
I think Osha's the one that's kind of become very, like, not like stoic, but stoic, and May is the one that's, like, acting more out of emotion. And I get more out of May than I do Osha. And
Interesting.
I wonder if it is a case of like her trying to play essentially the same person.
Right.
Like playing twins must be difficult. Like,
Oh
'cause
yeah.
you have to give each twin their own individual personality while essentially being the same person.
Right. You got to
So it
connect
can't be
them, but
easy. Yeah.
right.
If
Yeah, I
you're
get
one
that.
person doing it, it can't be easy. I would love to hear like any like twin act like the Sprouse brothers or something, like Cole and Dylan Sprouse talk about their experience because it can't be easy playing
Right.
two
No.
characters, especially twins.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, that part got a little silly for me, a little goofy. There's a couple moments in the episode which were a little goofy. That gets more in juxtaposition with the tone of like you got the OSHA and Manny moments, which are very one tone. You have Soul, who is of that same tone. I think that's what made it worse. Is that you have May and Soul is just one tone right now where he's breaking down. He's very upset. He's very powerful. Tragedy going on, and then there's Maynard just on the other side, and there's like goofy shit going on. I almost felt like it almost felt like, all right, well, we got to have a little humor here. We got to have a little fun moment here.
Little icebreaker here, yeah.
Right? And it just kind of didn't work as well as I could have. It could have been a little OTT, a little bit more subtle for me.
But Soul snapped at the end of this. Like he's got May like restrained. And the way he was walking and the way he's really disheveled, and he's like, I've been wondering for 16 years what I would say to you. Now you're gonna listen.
Yeah,
I'm not letting you go until you listen. He snapped. Like when the Jedi said, "Oh, the rescue team's on its way. Please leave your channel." He didn't even let them finish, and he was just like, "Nope.
Yep,
we're going. I'm taking this chick far away to where the Jedi." At first he's gone from, I'm going to turn myself over to the Jedi High Council and I'm going to answer for what I've done, to, no, we're going to go far away. You're going to sit here and you're going to listen to what I have to say. Right. Like it's almost like his character just did a complete, like May, his character's done a complete 180.
Right. Well, that's why I think he didn't know. Like that's why you go back to the argument of who May is. I think he thought it was Osha at first. I think his mind was clouded, his mind was tormented. That's why we had that scene where he's breaking down by himself. And as we sent out for Venestra, sent out for everything, and then once he figured it out was May after the power went down and after that conversation, that's when he did flip and like, all right, this is my chance to really come clean here. I think he still wants to turn himself into the Jedi, maybe, but the High Council potentially. But like at the same time, it's like, okay, but I have this opportunity now, and not only that, but he knows now that Osha's gone. He has to get Osha back. He can't let Osha die at the hands of the stranger. So he needs to, instead of going to the High Council, which would take him offline, he needs to get this done first before he turns into the High Council.
He has dark side tendencies that the Jedi let slide a lot more in the era of the High Republic, because you would be sent off as a way seeker to, go and commune with the Force more, possibly take the rash vow if you so chose to. You didn't have to. You could just go off and be a way seeker and separate yourself from the order. But yeah, something is deeply, deeply wrong with Saul, and this dude, whatever they did, it's gotta be bad. And I'm saying this is like from a story perspective, because if the payoff isn't as big as how Soul is selling it, we're gonna be sitting here like, well, fuck. You didn't save the witches from being burned in the castle.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think that Soul, it's funny that we've gotten to where we are, because in the first couple episodes, we're like, oh, Soul's he's a very Qui-Gon Jinn-ish kind of character. And now I don't think he is. Like, he's like, he's
Dooku.
He's the darker. Yeah, he's a little more like Dooku. Exactly. That's the point. I do think he wants to turn himself into the High Council. I'm curious, though. I kind of feel like at the end of the day, we're going to find out that I don't think he necessarily did something too awful, but I think he just knows about something and agreed to the cover up. I think that's more of what it is. And he's beating himself up more about it. I honestly think we're going to find out Torben did something really bad.
And
Soul's
just taking the blame for it.
Indara did something very bad, and I think Indara ordered him not to say anything. I think Indara kind of like basically said, "No, this is the report I'm making, and you will fall in line because this is what happened," kind of thing.
I would not give that order.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Exactly, Indara said hers. And I think that Soul is upset about it, but he has to go along because he has. So I think he had respect for Indara as his leader at this point, and he's not quite that. I mean, he's a Jedi Knight, but he's not. I don't even know if he's I don't know if he's a master at that point. I can't remember where he was. He felt he was younger and everything else, 16 years prior. But either way, I don't think he was the Jedi he is now. And now he's like, you know what? Indara's dead. I can come clean. I have to come clean. This is more important than that. Now that May is back and May lived and everything else, this is all coming. Just kick ourselves and kick our asses. Now I got to come clean about it. They're all dead now. All of them are dead except for me and May and Osha. So I got to come clean. But I do think at the end of the day, I don't think we'll find out he did anything too terrible, because I feel like that would, I don't know, destroy the character. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe that's the way we got to go. But my instinct tells me that it was Torben doing it, and Soul dealt with a cover up and is just feeling guilty about that now. And that's what we're going to find out. But if we're talking about the High Council too, that's definitely a what did happen now. I really want to find out what happened now.
I don't know, but one thing I want to touch on, because we have been, like, rightly so, we've voiced our critiques, so everyone in the YouTube comments can shut the fuck up. One thing I really did love about this episode was Manny is like, Khmer is Khmer. He is outright evil. He is a bad guy. We're starting to get a little bit of the humanization. Doesn't mean he's going to be redeemed. I don't think he's going to be redeemed. We're starting to get a little bit more of the humanization, and I think we're going to touch a little bit on it in your Force vision of, he has these scars. He's pleading to Osha because they were both thrown away, because she failed, because he failed. Like, there's that connectivity between them, and I think that connectivity is real. And I mentioned it last week, and like, he reminds me of Kylo Ren, and like, I just don't think he wants to be alone anymore.
Yeah.
I think he wants that, because notice he said the power of two. He didn't say the rule of two. He doesn't care for the rules. And we know that Sith do not share power. That is abhorrently what they're against. Absolute power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. He said he wants the power of two. And the way he said it sounded very sincere to me.
Yeah.
So I think he's looking for that counterpart.
Yeah, I agree. I get that. That's going for it too. Well, for sure. Let's see. Anything else we got? Oh, Gamers got a game. The moment I had. Gamers still gaming. I mean, granted, they didn't leave too long after it, but I think we're always going to go back. We're always going to go back to Kofor, and it's always going to be those two playing whatever they're playing, the chess. Chess. So we're going to go back 10 years from now, same spot, same guys.
The same game.
So I do want to talk about Vernestra again and Soul, in terms of when we see Vernestra on Kofor, that kind of where she hears what happened. We hear like not visions, because auditory of definitely what happened in the battle as Mog is describing it. It does feel like, I wonder if they're setting up Soul to take the fall, because Mog's assumption is that so Soul did this, like that must be what happened, right? And Vernestra doesn't exactly deter him from that. I'm almost wondering at the end of the day, Soul's going to die, and that's going to be the ending. The Jedi are going to write down in the log, oh, Soul went to the dark side, killed all the Jedi, and that was killed. Perhaps by Vernestra.
I think Vernestra sells him out.
I don't know.
It's fun.
Almost
dude,
there.
It's so funny you say that, because Alex Damon said something similar of like, Vernestra is giving off like crooked police captain.
Yes.
Energy. And I thought about it. I was like, no, not Vernestra. And again, I think it's because of the relationship that I've built with the character that I'm like, no, dude, there's no way. But then I read Temptation of the Force, and I was like, oh, actually,
Yeah, that's
think
the
about
stuff I've heard too. I can't wait to read that book. I can't wait to get there because I've heard such great things about that.
She does give off like crooked police captain, like in on the deal kind of. And I would really fucking hate that. But that, again, they're showing that they're not afraid to kill or dehumanize these characters that we love and turn them into just complete monsters.
Yeah.
It would be real bold for them to do that.
It would be damn bold. You know what? Let's we're kind of floating into our next segment and our last segment. Let's go to our rating segment and we'll get into our force vision. But first we got, like I said, parsecs.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
It's less than March 12. What is less than 12 parsecs? 11. And that's what we always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects and on Holy Snokes. Matty, what do you rate this show out of 11? This episode?
This episode, I'm gonna dip down a little bit. I think I gave the last one a 9.5. So I'm gonna give this one a 9 because I do feel like we're going back to a setup here. We kind of like we hit a peak and now we're going back down. Like we climbed Everest, now we're going down to the bottom of K2. So I feel like we're getting ready for another big build. I really wanted to knock it down to an 8 because we didn't get a cheek shot, but I'm not going to hold it against them. So, yeah, there's just a lot of really, really solid character development on the part of Khmer and Sol, especially. May as well. I think the moment where she just snaps at the end, not at the end, like in the middle of the episode where she says, because I failed, and she's holding the light. Notice how she's not holding the blade to his neck. She's holding the hilt to his neck because she can't bring herself to strike him down. So she knows he's right.
Yeah.
Hashtag Khmer was right.
Right is a wrong. I don't know if right is the right terminology, correct terminology.
In my opinion, the Jedi are evil.
And then you are lost. I will give it a solid 9 out of 11 for me. I really enjoyed it. Not quite as much as last week's action sells for me a little bit more, like in definition action. But like this is the opposite of that. But I did love it almost nearly as much. It was a great. Again, the whole episode could have been Khmer and Osha, and I would have been happy for sure. That was the A plot for me. That was an 11 out of 11 plot. The Sol May part was down to about an 8 because of Sol being so high, maybe a little less than that. We're not sure, down to about a 6, but it was necessary.
That's because of Mog.
Yeah, we're not sure because of Mog also locking down because of Mog. But because of everything we need to make the whole show in general, I think a 9 is a solid affair for it. Maybe it might be a little high, but I'm willing to go. Is
Mog the new Liam?
He might be. Mog might be the new Liam. He could join Liam. Fuck Liam. Fuck Mog. Who knows? Maybe Mog's gonna have this great heroic moment. Maybe we never know. Let's wait and see on that one for sure.
Maybe.
All right, let's get into our final segment, our Force Vision.
Premonitions.
This is where we look into the future. Matty, look into the future. What do you say?
I think Vanastra is going to kill Khmer. I feel like your nose for detective work is elementary, my dear PLD. Like, I feel like maybe he's a mistake of hers because we know. I don't know if I don't know if you know what happened to her first apprentice. Didn't end well. So maybe she thought she could take on a new one. And
I do think Kabir was her apprentice. I do think that. I really do think that. I think that's where we're going, and that's my part of my Force Vision as well. As far as killing Kabir, I don't disagree with you. I think that might be the case as well. The real question would be, Why does she kill him? That's the question.
To
Does
stop
she kill
him from
him,
tipping the scales.
or is it worse?
Here's the thing. I think she will do it because she believes she's stopping him from tipping the scales. When in actuality, she's doing it to keep her mistake quiet. Which brings us back around to the same mistake that Sol has essentially made. Of trying to cover things up. It's poetry, it rhymes, it's a cycle. She'll try to cover something up and end up doing something wrong.
Could be. I mean, I think it's a great suggestion. I think it's a great idea. I think there's definitely more to
maybe
her
Sol
character.
stops her.
Maybe. I think Sol is definitely gonna. I think Sol's gonna die.
Oh,
That's
Sol's
my
done.
thought. Sol's done. He's gonna confess, and he'll go out very nobly. He'll go out saving. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out saving May. Not even Osha, but he goes out saving May as like the almost like the reverse. He didn't save her last time. He let her die. Not that he let her die per se, but he saved Osha and couldn't save Manny. He lived with that terrible thing that happened all those years ago. He'll make up for it by saving May. And I think May and Osha are going to end up.
It's going to be May.
It's going to be May. I do think that. I do think we have a chance of one of your original predictions of the real Sith coming in to slap somebody down at the end of it. Because I think maybe Manny does get away from Vernestra a little bit, but then like gets away just to be killed by a certain Darth Tenebris potentially. Because I think, quite frankly, my wife, I talked to Kim about this when we were watching the episode. I kind of floated the idea is like she's talking with Osha about the whips and everything else, and he said something about a master who threw him away. He's like, your Jedi master? He doesn't answer. Does not answer. I think that's specifically for a reason. I think it's because his Sith master threw him away as well.
And you think it was Tenebris?
I think it's possibly Tenebris. I think he was he's a former Sith. I think he did something to fuck up. He got left behind, maybe left for dead. Maybe Tenebris thought he killed him and everything else. And so he's trying to do his own thing now. That's why he's almost like without the rigidity or without the organization or the structure of the Sith, he's like a little bit free, a little chaotic, and he wants to have that energy back. That's why he wants a pupil. He's going about it chaotically to the point where he's tipping off that there's Sith available or a Sith around or whatever, and not doing what he's supposed to do in terms of keeping it all under wraps, so to speak. So I think he's trying to be his own. He's trying to create his own rule of two, his own Sith, so he could defeat Tenebris and go, yeah, you were wrong for throwing me out. Now we're the Sith, and at the end of the day, everything's going to happen, and Tenebris is going to come and go, I thought I already killed you, boy. Like that, and takes care of the situation.
Hear me out. What if Tenebris is the replacement Padawan? What if they share the same master, and the master, to protect his identity, so we don't have the identity going into a season 2, sends Tenebris to kill him?
That could be something as well.
I hope he's not a Biff. I would love for them to fuck with the lore nut.
I was about to say that was actually my next point. Is like they're gonna F with lore a little bit, like in terms of like in ways that shouldn't matter, but some people will obviously be all up in arms about things like I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be like completely surprised, but I don't think so. If Manny Jacinto, they didn't like end up humanizing Plagueis or something like that, or something, and he becomes Plagueis or something like that. I think he becomes a Sith or something. I don't know. I don't think so. But I wouldn't be surprised if they change Tenebris and Plagueis' backstory, because quite frankly, in canon, you don't have anything to go on, really.
I'm just thinking visually, like how I don't know how have we had an on-screen Biff? I'm wondering how they're going to pull that off.
An on-screen Biff. Well, we had obviously in A New Hope,
Who's that?
the Cantina Band.
Oh yeah,
Was Biff. So we had it before, so they've definitely been there.
interesting.
So I don't know. It's interesting to say for sure. It would be interesting. So I think that's definitely some of it as well. I think he's definitely going to. I think the Sith Master threw him away. That's my first vision. Sith Master threw him away, just like the Jedi Master threw him away, and that's why he is a little cranky. That's why he's a little in search of love in all Alderaan places. And yes, I said it. I know, bad fun, dad joke. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think we're going to end up finding out that there's another Sith available, and he's going to have to slap him down still because Kimir's being too loud. He's being too loud, so to speak. And how Vernestra's involved, that's the point I'm not sure of.
The real Sith shows up and takes them all out.
I don't know. Maybe that could be. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. It would definitely be a ballsy move to take a character who was still, although like I said, I haven't read Temptation of the Force, so she went down a little bit of dark path. I get it, but definitely was more heroic in the first, her appearances going up, and turning her into like a dark sider at that point would be ballsy move.
Very, very ballsy.
Right. And I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but I'm at the point where I can't say no to anything for sure.
I mean, out of the main ones, out of her and Avar and Elzar, she's the one that kind of makes sense. Other than Elzar, because Elzar is essentially Anakin.
Yeah, Elzar has a lot going on that could be tricked that way for sure, from what I've read. But yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Vernestra has some skeletons in the closet, that she's done some things, and maybe she was too harsh on Kimir. Maybe she did whip him. And like we were talking about, the lightsaber whip would go through him. Well, there's different intensity levels on lightsabers. You can always throw that in there as something.
And also, she wouldn't have had to whip his skin, just whip near him.
Right.
For it to burn him.
Right. And maybe she was too hard on him. And maybe she caused this to happen. So she has her own guilt feelings to a degree, potentially.
Because I was wondering if he got those scars with the knives. Did he give May those knives? And those were the knives that gave him the scars. But looking back at it, they look like he's been like the dude from that Paul Bettany plays in the Da Vinci Code. He looks like he's been lashed.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't know if lightning would have that same effect. So I think that it makes sense that he was lashed by a whip. And we know of one whip in the universe so far. I mean, I know there's more.
And the whip was, at its inception, it was a Sith weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. So
because that's what when Vernestra created it, she was worried about, how she would be perceived using that weapon. But yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want to talk about with this episode, or should we get into the news?
Yeah, let's get into the news.
All right. That ends up our episode of The Acolyte, and we're going to go into our news bits. Some interesting bits, some from last week, some from this week. Interesting comic book news, if you're into comic books, some Star Wars. It's the end of an era coming up. There's two things I have to say. End of an era coming up. We are having Star Wars and Darth Vader both ending their current runs at issue 50 in September, and that is going to end the timeline between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. As we know, we had the first Star Wars and Darth Vader run took place between A New Hope and Empire. We did the reboot, and this journey was between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Where are we going next? I mean, it would make sense we go after Jedi, but maybe not. Maybe we're going to go back to
sequel era, maybe.
Sequel era?
Let's do it.
Are we going to do prequel era between 1 and 2? Are we going to do something between 2? I mean, 2 and 3, I feel like it's been covered so much with the Clone Wars, we don't really need to go there. But I wouldn't be surprised to do a little bit of 1 and 2.
I think because this is the thing, they're stopping at 50, right?
That's what they're doing for this one, yeah.
The 50-year anniversary is coming up. How good would it be to usher in this new era, 50th episode, 50th issue, 50th year? The new Jedi Order film is coming. Let's move into the sequels.
We could do it. And you know what?
New era.
It would be very interesting if they do post 9. And we lead into because I think the Rey movie is supposed to be, if I remember correctly, 15 years after episode 9. So we have a time plane to play with.
Between 8 and 9?
There could definitely be that. We could do before 7. We between 6 and 7, but instead of starting right after Return of the Jedi, go a little closer to the sequel era, like before 7 kind of thing. A lot of different possibilities we could definitely do. So I'm interested to say for sure. I'm not caught up. I read them very religiously for a while, but I stopped when I started doing my canon read through. Because I kind of
is Charles. Does it say if Charles Soule's doing the new run?
Or I don't think it's mentioned that yet. I don't think it's mentioned who's doing. I could be wrong. I didn't read the article completely through. I skimmed the article a little bit. I'm not sure if they mentioned that or not. But another interesting thing, by the way, real quick, in July this month, we got a couple of interesting comic books coming out that I get to them. It's hard sometimes to not read them now. I'm trying to read it in order, so when I get there, I get there. But there's the Inquisitors miniseries coming out, and there's also the Ahsoka adaptation, which I've never really loved. That's the ones I don't read. I don't read the adaptations of the series. So I watch the series. I don't need to. Yeah. But there is a Kelnaka one shot coming. I've found out. So that would be interesting. I don't know when it's taking place. I'm betting it's probably before the Acolyte. I'm assuming, or before the.
I would imagine so because he's
Well, I mean, like before. Yes. I meant before like before the Brundage incident is what I kind of meant. That's what I kind of meant. I would hope it take place before. I was really having a Force Ghost Kelnaka or something. I don't know. But that's pretty interesting. I like the comics, but I got to get there when I get there, unfortunately. That's I kind of feel like my own personal need right now, but I like what I'm doing. But I feel like I'm also going to take forever to get there. So I'm kind of like trying to hurry myself up as best I can.
I've gone to the point where I'm just waiting for the omnibus for the trades to come. Obviously, I don't buy the trade books anymore. I just wait for them to be on the apps. But
right. Then you can read it all at once. And I like that idea too. I like that too. Because like a lot of times I find, because I watch and ingest so much content that like if there's a month in between like an issue, it kind of like it takes me like to get back into like where were we?
And it puts me off if I have a load that I haven't read that I'm just sitting there. Like it kind of puts me off.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like somewhat lazy that I'm like I've let all these like build up. I'm just like
right.
It feels like more of a chore than a want.
100%. So we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. All right. Next up, Ben Mendelsohn returning as Krennic alongside other Rogue One characters in Andor Season 2.
I knew it. I knew he'd be back.
Oh, I did too. Well, just to get it out there, this is not an official announcement. Ben Mendelsohn and Lucasfilm have not commented. However, it is pretty much as close as you can get because it was the director of the last 3 episodes of Andor, and I should have written that one down. I forget his name. I didn't write that down in my notes. I'm a bad podcaster sometimes.
Who's that?
I don't remember the name of the director who's directing the last 3 episodes of Andor Season 2. He is the one who spilled the beans because he had a quote, and he stated, "I can tell you Rogue One is coming. So there'll be characters that you will recognize. There'll be cool stuff. For those who love Rogue One, this season is going to be very special. It's going to be fascinating to go straight to Rogue One after watching the season because you will see Rogue One from a different perspective. I promise you that. I can tell you one thing. Tony Gilroy is a fantastic writer, and he created amazing characters that we get to meet in Andor Season 1. It's going to be a very rich second season because all those stories matter today. True ensemble piece. It got very complicated in Season 1. Everything has to get resolved. Every story matters." I'm sorry, that was actually a quote from casting Andor himself, from Diego Luna, about Season 2. He was kind of asked that in the brief, and that's about Season 2, which is great. But there was a line from the director, a director who basically stated that he was excited to be directing such powerhouses such as Stellan Skarsgård, Forrest Whitaker, and Ben Mendelsohn.
Stellan Skarsgård and Ben Mendelsohn alone together, those two in a scene. We're in for some shit. And here's the thing. Do you want some little bit of irresponsible speculation?
Go right ahead.
But let's say that there's a little bit of smoke to this.
Right.
When asked if he was coming back for Death Stranding 2, Kojima said that Mads Mikkelsen will not be returning to the second game because he was not available. Norman Reedus was available. Troy Baker was available. These are people that, Norman Reedus was filming The Walking Dead, his Daryl Dixon spinoff, and Troy Baker was filming The Last of Us. So why wasn't Mads able to come back? I wonder.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a great, healthy bit of speculation there. He is very busy.
Is he?
He's the
He
kind of
doesn't
guy
do that many projects a year.
but he's always kind of working. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I would not be surprised, especially if Ben Mendelsohn is returning. I would not be surprised if that's the case, because that just makes sense. Because their characters are intertwined at this point, right before we're going to end up right before Rogue One. The last 3 episodes lead right into Cassian heading to the rings of Fafrine. That's what that's always have said. It's like, well, the last episode is probably going to be him getting on the ship to go. So we're at that point. Definitely Ben Mendelsohn and Tony and Mads Mikkelsen's characters have been together working it out towards things for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see. The director's name is Mexican director Alonso Ruza Palacios, and that's what he said. That's what he said about working those 3 specifically. So I gotta say he's definitely coming back, and I think that flat out Ben Mendelsohn lied when he said that Lucasfilm hadn't contacted him. I'm okay with it. I don't mind that for this point. I like the surprise a little bit. It did end up leaking out, but I don't mind him denying it. I think that's just the way of the world now, whether we like it or not. Look at Andrew Garfield in No Way Home. You basically got to come point blank and say, no comment doesn't work. Pleading the fifth does not work, because that always is just like, okay, well, that means he's in it. So you got to basically say, nope, no idea what you're talking about.
Yep. Just keep denying it. Keep playing. What was it? Andrew Garfield said he was playing werewolf.
Yeah.
Just keep playing werewolf. I will say, I do want to test this going in blind thing with Skeleton Crew.
You gonna try it again?
I think I'm gonna try it again for Skeleton Crew, because it has really worked a lot with the Acolyte.
All right.
With Andor, it's different because we know how it ends. We know how the story of Andor ends.
That's fair.
But I think fair. I think I'm going to try it again, because not gonna lie, it does feel pretty good.
Right. That's cool. I mean, that makes it harder on me, but that's okay.
You'll be fine.
That's fair. I will say, going back to the other quote, which I misquoted, I had the wrong quote written down. That's the Cassian Andor quote, the Diego Luna quote. But he's also mentioning other Rogue One characters. What other Rogue One characters do you think we're going to meet in Andor season 2? I mean, I think K2SO has got to happen, right?
K2. I think they've said K2 is going to happen in season 2.
I think
who I want.
The funny thing is, they said it back in the beginning that Cassian Andor and K2SO were going to be in the series. And then all of a sudden, they were like, "Oh, not K2SO is not going to be in season 1. It'll probably be in season 2." I don't think we've heard anything about it since then, though.
You know who I want, Paul.
What?
You know who I want.
What do you want?
Chiron Bays.
Do you think they're likely to appear, though?
Probably not.
Right.
And I would be pissed if Donnie Yen is just a little cameo on the street.
Right. I don't think that's Gilroy's play. I don't think that's his play.
I think it would be kind of cool if, because they are going to Jeddah,
right?
From what we've been told, it would be cool if just Cassian passes him on the street, and we just see him look up like a blind monk, and he's asking for money or something. He's just asking for credits, right? And it's just Donnie Yen. I would be pissed. But I would also be excited to see Chirrut.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's unlikely, but I get where you're coming from. I think it's more likely. There's a lot of people, because we're going to Yavin. So I think we could see a Dodonna. We could see a Admiral Raddus, potentially. We could see some of the other Rebellion characters that we got to see an episode in Rogue One, rather. I'd like to get more time with Dodonna. I would love to see Dodonna again, because I feel like we never really get a whole lot of time with him. We had him, obviously, in episode 4 briefly. We had him very briefly in Rogue One. I thought he'd actually be more a part of Rogue One, but he kind of had only a few lines. I'd like to get into something with him, potentially. Although we're more likely going to get Draven as definitely as Cassian's kind of boss, so to speak. I think we're going to get him. to a degree. I think there's a lot of things we could get, but those are definitely some of the ones we're going to go for. As far as the Imperial size of things, if we're getting Krennic, I mean, do we get Tarkin? Maybe. I mean, Tarkin's not necessarily a one character.
Tarkin. Now you're pulling out the big guns. If we're pulling in Tarkin as well as Krennic,
could. It's potential.
I don't know if they want to go after the backlash they got of the CGI last time. I don't know if they want to do that again.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll have to find it.
It would be sweet,
though it's been a lot. It's also been 9 years, almost 9 years since 8 years. The technology has gotten better, so
I would love that. Yeah,
necessarily be surprised. I don't know. I'll have to see.
God, there's so many good characters in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Bring in Basil. Just bring Basil into Rogue One.
Basil's gonna come. I don't know. He could be 1,000 years old. You never know, right?
Maybe.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's move on. Leslie and Peeps, I said, talking Acolyte episode 5. This came out right after the episode. I just wanted to bring in a few things that kind of showcase what I was talking about when I read these interviews. And I think what I mentioned, that fans sometimes jump and are not patient enough. I know some people mentioned about, the red shirts came in, and that was kind of a dumb move. We knew they were going to die. And like Leslie actually had ideas about that. She actually stated, and about the twist itself. She's actually about the twist of revealing Khmer was the stranger, and the red shirts is all in this quote from Leslie Headland, which, by the way, I found all this stuff on Star Wars Newsnet. Go there and check that out. Great source of that collates all the Star Wars news. She stated, I think a good twist is not about hiding everything from the audience and then throwing it on them. Like, hey, this is what you didn't see. We hit it so well that you didn't see this. I think a good twist is telegraphing what's going to happen. And then once it does, executing it without an ounce of pity or sentimentality. That's what I loved about starting with the red shirts. She explains, while momentarily slipping into Star Trek parlance. Kind of like, okay, he's just going to kill a bunch of red shirts and everybody else is going to be fine. Oh my God, Jackie's dead. Okay, I'm listening. So it's kind of a red herring in a bit. I like that, because we did. We're like, oh, these guys are definitely going to die.
The red shirts are the red herrings.
The red herrings, because they were definitely going to die. But all of a sudden, when Jackie and you're like, oh shit, this is real, and it had that effect that she wanted, because that's what everybody said. Everybody said that afterwards. There are some people complaining about the red shirts, but it's like, no, they were used properly to lull you into a sense of security. When Jackie and Yor died, we're like, oh shit, that's right. So I like that. I think it shows where Headland's actually a very intelligent writer at times, even if the dialogue is clunky or some things are clunky. There's some great behind overall thematic and storytelling devices that are used very well, I think. So I really did like that for sure. Daphne Keene weighed in during that about the decision to kill off her character and said, there are so many directors in blockbuster sagas that are so scared to kill off their characters and so comfortable with bringing characters back to life. And all these little writer tricks that I think are quite cheeky. And I really like that she was actually killing people, because if you're not making it dangerous, then why are we even here? Why are we concerned by the story? Why do we care? Leslie has such a backbone as a writer to make you fall in love with these characters and then slaughter them all like pigs and be like, yeah, this is our villain. We're not just saying he's so big and scary. We're actually showing you how big and scary he is.
Literally how big he is. The dude is massive. I saw people comparing it to the Red Wedding, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, because I still get PTSD when I hear the Reigns of Castamere.
Oh yeah, no, this is not Red Wedding. I'm sorry. Leslie the show did a good job with it. Great episode, but partially because we didn't have the same, and they had seasons of build up for that, like a season or two. They had time to build up those characters when they were killed. These we had.
Should I ever get married, I will be playing the Reigns of Castamere at my wedding. And if you do not turn and look in absolute fear for our lives, that would be the ultimate test of our friendship.
I absolutely will. Don't you worry. I will go wearing armor, my friend. That's right. To go wearing armor. I need my tux or my suit.
But yeah, she did I maintain she did a great job. A lot of people said that those characters, the red shirts, were kind of like, oh, you just killed all these Jedi. Yeah, because we're trying to establish how powerful the bad guy is. Work with us here, guys. We're trying to show you how powerful the bad guy is. So yeah, we're gonna have him kill a shitload of Jedi because he is him. He is that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, I got a couple of interviews. Manny Jacinto was talking to strangers like this was actually after the episode or nearby the episode, rather. Started talking about his character and how he, hid what he was saying before. And he loved the idea that his character was inspired by Jack Sparrow and Kikushio from Seven Samurai, his original Khmer character, how he played that. But then the transition from harmless to fearsome was inspired by Jackie Chan's Drunken Master.
I love this man.
I was going to say, if you didn't love this man before.
I love this man.
It's perfectly legit. It's perfectly exactly what you want to hear from him. It makes complete sense.
I love this man.
Absolutely.
The Drunken Master, that is the perfect comparison to what he is.
Mm-hmm. The movements.
It's just like that, the swaying.
The swaying, yep. Think of it on.
Yes.
Drunken Master Sith, I love it.
Fuck it. If they kill him after this, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm gonna be so mad.
I think you better prepare because I think he's gone. I think he's gone. Specifically because of this interview that Leslie had about him as well.
She's gonna just love him and then just mercilessly
on Manny Jacinto. She said his character design was a long process. I mean, it was for everybody, but specifically for his character to create a new Sith. Sith had been done so well, so it was very difficult to say, all right, this guy is a guy in hiding. This is a guy that moves differently. This guy's helmet has a different purpose, and having to unpack that. I remember we were showing him a Khmer costume sketch, and it just showed his arms a little bit, and he was like, no, he's not a guy that says no very often. He's very collaborative. He'll do anything for you. I was surprised, but then I saw his first screen test of the whole outfit, and I was like, I saw Manny's screen test early on in pre-production, and I just thought, there'll be riots in the street if I don't go further. Here we go. I'm rewriting an episode. Manny was so impressive in every aspect. Now, that tells me, unfortunately, for your hatred, your anger, or your upcoming anger, I don't know if Khmer was meant to be a long-term character. But like when he saw Manny in action, she's like, oh, we got to make this guy work.
Probably.
So I think he got extended out, and maybe at the end, I don't know if he can live.
That would make sense with how his character starts, though, right? He is kind of just the shit weasel, but then he probably really turned it on, and then Leslie Haddon was like, "Oh no, we can do something with this guy."
Absolutely. So,
what a guy! What a fucking guy, dude! I love Matty Jacinto.
Me too.
Like, did you see he's going to be playing Lindsay Lohan's love interest
Freaky Friday
in Freaky Friday 2.
I'm all there for it, man.
I am so in on this dude, like getting all of these kind of roles, like rom-coms, like hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I hope he gets more action bits too. I'd love to see him in like a John Wick movie or something like that, or potentially something like that. I think he could be awesome in that.
Shang-Chi too.
Shang-Chi too. Awesome in that. Would love that.
Oh, dude, him and Simu Liu. Very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar energy.
Very similar energy for sure. On Cortosis, Leslie was talking about Cortosis. She said it's a tricky thing because you respect George Lucas in the sense that you don't want to weaken the power of a lightsaber. It's almost hallowed in that sense, not just within the series, but in pop culture. But Cortosis was such a great new element, and I had always thought of it as such a cool thing to incorporate. Lucasfilm lore consultant Pablo Hidalgo and I worked on a lot of the machinations of it before we started designing it. It was very important that it be breakable, that it basically not be super hard. It's why Jackie can get the helmet off him so quickly. It's kind of a brittle thing. Again, Cortosis, she's a Legends girl, and she's worked with Pablo about it. Like, this is all lore stuff that's in there. I love the fact that it's brought on this way.
Also, doesn't Palpatine's lightsaber have Cortosis on it?
I don't remember if that's the case.
I'm pretty sure Palpatine's lightsaber, from a visual dictionary I read, it was either Palpatine or Mace Windu. They have it on the hilt to block the blade with the hilt.
Right. That kind of sounds right. Potentially, yeah, absolutely, could be.
One of them.
I know there are Cortosis blades. I know there are Cortosis blades.
Yeah.
But I know that like the explanation, because it's too almost, it is powerful. It can be overused for sure, and it's too strong. Because like, well, that just is like a weapon, like the lightsaber should be like almost the be all and end all. So if I remember correctly, the explanation was the cortosis blade has like a thin strip of cortosis in it, to the point where it can block a lightsaber, but it won't short it out, like say that the helmet did, for example.
Because Dooku's had Beskar, the bit that like curved over the hill,
right,
was made of Beskar for that reason, to block.
Absolutely. But
did you see? By the way, did you see the designs of the lightsabers that they didn't use?
I did. That was cool. That was cool. That was very
like
cool.
The ones that look like the old school like pirate dueling pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Those look sick.
Yeah, that was very cool.
The big old broadsword.
I love that. I'd love to see that.
Give us a katana. Give me a katana lightsaber.
Nice. I will say this last bit of news before we wrap things up does give you hope that he will live, because there's
I'm going to do a reverse cross.
There you go. They mentioned the article actually brought up to Leslie Headland the fact that Kylo Ren's theme played at the end of episode 5. Where just briefly we all kind of noticed, the Leo thing. She states it is there on purpose, but I can't tell you why, and I can't go into what it is.
Tell me why,
but you shall see. So that sparks the theories and the continued theories that perhaps he is the beginning of the Knights of Ren.
Oh, no, please, no.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that. Let him be his own thing. Let him be his thing.
Well, considering we don't have much knowledge in the Knights of Ren besides a few comic books and everything else, I think he could be his own thing and start the Knights of Ren. It means he lives past today, and he just formed it. He wants companionship. That's for sure. And what a better way. Maybe that's the better way to do it. He goes, all right, no more the power of 2. Sith isn't going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to survive. I need to bring forward like some people like me that I can be the head of, so to speak. So he wants to be in charge now. So I could see it work out very, very well.
It could be. The Knights of Ren are kind of not that cool anymore. The comic, like the Crimson Empire kind of made him like Palpatine essentially made them his biatches.
Not entirely wrong, but it could be that they started out differently.
Maybe. Possibly.
And I think he could make them cooler, because if Manny Jacinto is the head of it, all of a sudden they become that much cooler.
That's true. If Manny Jacinto is the head, that if he is Ren.
Fair enough. All right, let's wrap things up.
Yeah,
unless you got anything more to add.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, where can the folks find you, Matty?
You can find me social media handles all there. You can find my band Mourner, Mourner, on all social media at Mourner Band. You can find me here on Holy Snokes every Wednesday. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. PLD, why don't you tell us where we can find you and how they can support the channel?
All right, we got right here. That's my Twitter feed handle at that point. Find me on patreon.com/PLD Projects if you like that kind of thing. We have a great group of people there. Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham, get some great crew, like I said. If you can't, though, I understand completely in this financial thing. But do the best you can to help us other ways. Like, subscribe, share. Let people know we're here. Let them know we're that overall we are a very positive-facing, although very truthful podcast about Star Wars, which is something that's like should be. It's not exactly a plentiful thing out there. So, and there are a lot of people out there we like as well. So we like to always push you towards them. Obviously, Force Centers are big ones. We love Force Center, and we love Molly and Alex and Star Wars Explained. Katarn's got a great crew. There's a great crew out there.
TRB, Thank the Maker, Hondo Supply. Yep. There's so many great Star Wars creators out there. You just gotta find them.
Hopefully, we are one of them as well for you guys.
Check my Twitter and Instagram following. You will find them in there.
Absolutely. And for this, you can find me all over this channel because I do other things besides Star Wars on this channel. I do a lot of other things. I do review every other week where me and Lego go do the V franchise. We are in the reboot era now. PJ and I are taking a hiatus after big blue box Doctor Who episodes ended. We will be returning in August with 2 mediocre white tees on film. We go through movie franchises, mostly horror, but not always. And of course, we also do my Crown Jewel show every week. This week, we start the game era from Queen. Play the Game, the first song to be talked about from there. The synth era, the Mac era, the 1980s are here.
I do love that. I do love that album.
Every week. This is actually one of their most successful albums, so this is definitely a time to jump in on that. And I think, and we have another show coming up, which we'll talk about soon. I'll make that announcement next week. We are recording.
We're waiting for next week to announce it.
I'm gonna announce it next week. And,
I've started doing my research. I've started compiling my segments, and
so have I.
This is gonna be, especially because I'm literally going to be spending some time in Manchester very soon. That's a little hint.
Hint. Okay. All right. All right, guys. That'll do it for this week. Stay tuned. Next week, of course, we'll return next week with the 7th episode, the penultimate episode of Acolyte Season 1. But that's next week, not this week. Till then, of course, as always,
may the Force be with you. Always.